It was just after midnight when I realized something was wrong. I had been in bed for maybe 20 minutes, scrolling on my phone, trying to fall asleep. I live alone, so the only sounds I'm used to hearing at night are cars driving by or maybe the wind against a window. But this night was different. I heard something fall in the kitchen. At first, I thought it might be something I left on the edge of the counter. Maybe the cat knocked it over. But then I remembered my cat, Lily, had passed away 4 months earlier. There was no one else in the house. I sat up and listened. Nothing. It wasn't a loud crash or anything. More like a thump, followed by silence. I told myself I was tired. Maybe I just imagined it. So I lay back down, tried to relax again. 10 minutes later, I heard another sound. This time it was closer. It sounded like slow footsteps on the hardwood floor just outside my bedroom door. My body froze. I didn't even breathe for a second. I listened hard, thinking maybe it was just the floor creaking. Houses do that sometimes, right? But then I heard it again. Another step, then another, like someone was walking slowly from the kitchen toward the hallway, toward my room. I got out of bed, as quiet as I could, and grabbed the bat I keep under the bed. I didn't turn on the light. I thought if someone was inside, I didn't want them to know I was awake. I stood near the door, holding my breath, but the sound stopped. I opened the door fast and flicked on the hallway light. Nothing. The hallway was empty. I checked the kitchen. Nothing was on the floor. Nothing broken. The back door was locked. Every window was shut. That should have made me feel better. But it didn't. Something felt wrong. Like I had just missed seeing something. Like someone had been standing there seconds before I opened the door. I checked the whole house. Closets, bathroom, even under the bed. Everything was normal. But my heart wouldn't stop pounding. I ended up staying up all night with the TV on, just trying to stay calm. It wasn't until the next morning that I remembered something weird. The door to the basement, which I always keep locked with bolt, was slightly open, just an inch or two. The bolt was still in place, but the door was cracked open. That didn't make sense. I never open a basement door. I barely even go down there. It creeps me out. There's no furniture, no boxes, just dust and an old water heater. But I had to check. So I opened the door fully and turned on the light. I expected to see nothing, but there were footprints. Faint, but they're like someone had walked across the dust-covered floor with wet shoes. The prints went around the water heater and then just stopped. There was no second exit, no windows down there, nowhere to go. I left the house that day and stayed with my sister for a while. I didn't tell anyone the full story for months, mostly because I wasn't sure myself if it really happened. Maybe I was sleep deprived. Maybe the noise was real, but the rest I imagined. But 3 weeks ago, I was going through some of my smart home camera footage. I had a camera above my front door, and it picked up motion that night. Around 12:46 a.m., a tall man walked up to the porch. He didn't knock, didn't try to open the door. He just stood there for almost 2 minutes, then walked away. Or at least, that's what I thought. But on the corner of the screen, barely visible, I saw something else. A second figure, much smaller, moving toward the back of the house. That was the same night I heard the footsteps. They were never caught. I never found signs of a break-in, but the camera doesn't lie. Someone was there, and I still don't know how they got in, or if they ever left. I was 17 when it happened. My parents had gone out of town for the weekend, and I begged them to let me stay home instead of going to my aunt's place like I usually did. I wanted to prove I could be responsible. They agreed, left me with cash, a full fridge, and a long list of don'ts. Everything was fine the first day. I played video games too long, ate too much junk food, stayed up way too late. But I felt good, in control, grown up. But the second night, everything changed. It was just after 1 a.m. I had finally decided to go to bed. I turned off everything downstairs, locked the doors, and checked the windows. I've always been a little paranoid, so I double-checked each lock before heading up. I was brushing my teeth when I heard something, a sound I'll never forget. The front door opened, slowly, carefully, and then shut again. I froze, toothbrush still in my mouth. foam spilling out, my heart racing so hard I felt dizzy. I turned off the bathroom light and crept to the top of the stairs. The house was dark and quiet. Too quiet. Then came the second sound, a low, sharp creak, the kind our wooden steps make when someone steps on them slowly, trying not to be heard. But I was upstairs, and I hadn't moved. Someone was inside. I backed into my room, locked the door, and grabbed my phone. I called the police with shaking hands, trying to keep my voice low. The dispatcher kept asking me questions I barely heard. I was staring at the crack under my bedroom door, because that's when I saw the shadow. Someone was standing on the other side. They didn't knock. They didn't say anything. They just stood there, and then they crouched, I could tell by how the shadow moved, and tried the doorknob, slowly, quietly, like they were hoping I hadn't locked it. I backed into the corner of the room, phone still to my ear, whispering for police to hurry. I don't remember how long they took. It felt like hours. But in reality, it was maybe 6 or 7 minutes. The moment the sirens got close, the shadow vanished. The footsteps went back down the stairs fast. I heard the back door slam open, then silence again. The cops searched the house. Found no one. No signs of forced entry. They said maybe I forgot to lock the door. But I didn't forget. The weirdest part? Nothing was taken. There was cash downstairs. My mom's jewelry. My dad's laptop. All untouched. Whoever it was didn't come to rob us. They came for something else. Maybe just to watch. Maybe to scare me. Or maybe something worse. To this day, I don't know how they got in. All the locks were still engaged when police checked. But I know what I heard. And I know what I saw. Before I share the next terrifying story, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're into real horror stories like these, true encounters from people who've lived through terrifying nights, then subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And trust me, it only gets darker from here. Some nights I still hear it, that soft creak on the staircase. Even though I moved long ago, I wake up with my heart pounding, expecting to see that shadow at the door again. It's like something followed me. Or maybe something never left. I didn't even realize it was a horror story at first. It happened when I was living in a rental house, just outside of town. I had just graduated from college and landed my first real job. The place was small, just one bedroom, a bathroom, and a tiny kitchen. It sat at the edge of some woods, which I thought was peaceful at the time. Now, I think about that forest differently. One night, I came home from work around 9:30. It was already dark, and I was exhausted. I threw my keys on the counter, grabbed something to eat, and collapsed on the couch. I remember checking my phone and noticing a weird notification from my security app. Back door opened, but I assumed it was from earlier in the day when I took out the trash. I shrugged it off. I turned on the TV, ate my food, and dozed off without even changing clothes. When I woke up, it was 2:47 a.m. The TV was still playing, but the house felt different, colder, too quiet, like the air was holding its breath. You know that feeling? When something is off but you don't know why. I sat up, grabbed the remote, and turned the volume down. That's when I heard it. Breathing. It wasn't mine. I was holding my breath, listening, and the sound was definitely not coming from me. It was coming from the bedroom. Now here's the thing. I hadn't gone in there all evening. The door was shut, and I lived alone. I didn't want to move. I was frozen on the couch, staring at that closed door like it was going to burst open any second. Then it stopped. No breathing. No sound at all. I don't know where I got the courage, but I stood up and slowly crept toward the bedroom. I didn't have any weapons, so I picked up the heavy flashlight from the kitchen drawer. I turned the knob gently and pushed the door open. The room was empty. Everything was in its place. My bed, my clothes, the open closet door. Nothing seemed wrong, except the window. It was wide open, and muddy footprints led from the window across the carpet to the side of my bed. They stopped there, like whoever had just stood beside the bed, watching. I checked the rest of the house, locked the window, and stayed awake until the sun came up. The next day, I installed better locks, put motion lights, Told myself maybe it was just some drunk person who wandered into the woods and found their way in. But then, something even creepier happened. A week later, I was watching something late at night. I heard my phone buzz, another security notification. But this time, it said motion detected inside bedroom. I was sitting on the couch, alone. The house was dead quiet. The bedroom door was wide open, and from where I was, I could see part of the room. No movement. I checked the camera feed. Nothing but static. No figure. No movement. Just a low, distorted hum that I hadn't heard before. I turned off the app and walked toward the bedroom again. And that's when I noticed something written on the fog part of the window, like someone had breathed on it and traced a word with their finger. It said, "Stay." I didn't. I packed a bag and left that night. The police didn't find anything. No signs of forced entry. No DNA. Nothing on the camera footage after that. They said it could have been a prank or someone messing with the system. But you can't fake muddy footprints. And you can't fake breathing. I never went back. Sometimes I dream about that word on the glass. About waking up and finding it written on my mirror or my car window. Or even inside the fridge door. Just that single word. Stay. But whatever it was, I hope it didn't. This story didn't happen to me, but to my uncle back when he was still single and living in a quiet suburb just outside of Denver. I grew up hearing bits and pieces of it during family get-togethers, but no one ever told it all the way through, like they were afraid to give it life again by speaking it aloud. So one night, I sat him down and asked him to tell me everything. He took a deep breath, leaned back in his chair, and said, "I was 29, just bought the house. Thought it was the start of a new chapter. I'd come home from work, have a drink, sit on the back porch, watch the sunset. I felt proud, independent. I didn't realize it then, but I was already being watched." He lived alone. No roommates, no pets. It was a small, older house that backed into a patch of woods. There was a broken fence, which he always meant to fix, but never did. For the first few months, everything felt normal, peaceful even. Then the weird thing started. At first, it was small stuff. The porch light flickering. The side gate swinging open even when there was no wind. Footsteps in the leaves at night, which he assumed were raccoons or maybe stray dogs. But then one night, he came home from work to find all the kitchen drawers open. Every single one. Nothing stolen. Nothing broken. Just open. He chalked it up to his memory. Maybe he'd been in a rush that morning. Maybe he just forgot. Then a few days later, it happened again, but this time, it was the cabinets. All of them. Wide open. He started locking every door, every window. Even moved a chair in front of the basement door, just in case. But it didn't matter. He told me that one night, around 2 a.m., he woke up to the sound of his bedroom door creaking open. He was certain he had shut it. He always did before bed. It opened slowly. Too slowly. Like someone was trying not to wake him, but failed. He didn't move. Just lay there, eyes wide open, breathing as quietly as possible. Then he heard a whisper. Not words. Just breath. Just the sound of someone whispering. From somewhere near the foot of the bed. He turned on the light instantly, and there was nothing. No one. Door wide open. Hallway empty. He barely slept after that. Weeks passed, and the house started to feel more like a trap than a home. He stopped inviting people over. He barely spoke to friends or co-workers. He told himself he was just stressed, maybe even hallucinating. But deep down, he knew better. The final straw came one night in early October. He came home late from work, tired, annoyed, ready to collapse. As he walked up to the front porch, he noticed something off. The door was open, not just unlocked, open, wide. He froze. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows. But something about the way that door was just waiting for him made him feel sick. He called out, thinking maybe someone was inside who'd broken in and changed their mind. No answer. He stepped inside slowly, holding his phone like a weapon, ready to call the cops. The living room looked untouched. So did the kitchen. He checked the bathroom, the hallway, every corner. empty. Then he walked into the bedroom, and his legs almost gave out. On the bed, right in the center of the neatly made sheets, was an old Polaroid photo. It hadn't been there that morning. It showed the back of his house, taken from the woods behind the fence. And in the photo, he could see himself through the kitchen window washing dishes. Someone had been watching him from the woods, and not just once. He rushed to the backyard, shining a flashlight across the broken fence line. No footprints, no sign of anyone. But in the dirt just near the tree line, he found something else, a circle made of stones. Inside it, small bones, animal probably, arranged in a spiral, like some kind of ritual. And right beside it, buried partially in the dirt, was another photo. This one showed the inside of his bedroom, from the hallway, from the angle of someone standing at the threshold, watching him sleep. That's when he left the house, drove straight to a hotel, and never went back. He sold a few months later, barely making back what he paid. Didn't care. He just wanted out. I asked him if he ever reported it. He said he did, but the police didn't find anything. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints. They assumed it was someone playing a prank, or worse, that he was losing his mind. But I wasn't, he told me. That place, it wanted me alone. It waited until I trusted the silence. The house still stands. Someone else lives there now. But sometimes my uncle says he still dreams of that open door, of the camera shutter clicking in the dark, of the whispering. He told me something else, too. Something he's never told anyone. He said that a year after he left, he got a package. No return address. Inside, just one item. A photo. It was him, sitting on the back porch. And in the reflection of the glass behind him, a face. Not a mask. Not a blur. A face. Thin. Pale. Eyes wide. Staring straight at him. He burned it the same night. But he says sometimes in the dead quiet of night, he swears he hears whispering outside his window. And now, he never stays home alone.